One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight. So I got to tell you something. I've been doing this Trump stuff for over a year right now. Covered all the rallies, everything he's done, all the way through inauguration. And since January 20th, since he was inaugurated as president, I have not seen a news day like today. I've never seen it. And what was that? And this news day started off with the press conference, and we talked about some things, but it just picked up during the day, and it just gathered steam and just kept going. And I think I figured out something. I think I really have something here. I want you to listen to this. We've mentioned that the press conferences with Caroline Leavitt are getting kind of boring. She's cutting it short. They're not really asking her questions, and I think I finally figured out why. This has got to be the most public, transparent administration ever. Why were we going to waste our time asking Caroline Leavitt questions when it's likely President Trump's going to come out in the Oval Office and take a press conference anyway? But today was like none other. And it started off at 8:20 this morning with the video I showed you. First, cabinet member Pete Hegseth out there on Fox and Friends this morning. Bam, he gets on. And then Caroline Leavitt comes on, and it's kind of quiet. But then the rest of the day after that became a tsunami of news. And I'm really convinced at this point the reporters are like, is he coming out today? Well, he might. She closed it by saying that today. Hey, you might see him later on. Okay, so why don't we just wait until he comes out? Because he's going to answer all the questions we have. He might call us stupid, but at least we'll be talking to him. You see, for the last 4 years, there's been a drought. An absolute dusty White House. You never saw Biden talking to the press. Not without cue cards and stuff. Once in a while. Kamala, same thing. And now here you got this entire cabinet out there just boom, boom, boom. So tonight, you may not see me much on camera today, because here's what I got for you. I have the Oval Office where President Trump was doing a swearing in with Scott Bessent and one of their junior officers. And then, of course, after he swears people in, what's he do? He takes questions for about 15 or 20 minutes. Then, earlier, Pam Bondi did a really short thing. Well, shorter comparing to Trump. She talked for about 10 minutes about the anti-Christian task force. Might have came out with a better name. The anti-Christian task force would have been better, but she talks about how they're going to be launching that. And there's somebody interesting in that press, well, I call it a press conference, that meeting they held. I want to point this person out to you. And then later on after that, RFK Jr., as you know, came out and dropped bombshells about food dye, and he spoke and answered questions. And then earlier, we had to wait till the transcripts and stuff came out. The Supreme Court came out and did some serious butt spankage. And not the sexual kind. Butt spanking to somebody, the lawyer who wants to indoctrinate kids at a young age. We're going to cover that. And then Tom Homan held a press conference where, of course, these people were asking him about, you can't be deporting people. And you know how Tom answers questions. Smack, smack, smack. So settle down, get yourself something to eat, kick your feet up, because we got a lot to go through here. I won't even have time to do the 10 spot because there is so much. Now, many of you may have seen, or some of you may have seen some of these things. You probably didn't see much of the Supreme Court stuff. Maybe you saw the Pam Bondi thing. But I'm going to bring it all to you right now in one show. And we're going to start off by listening to what President Trump had to say at the swearing-in ceremony.
Well, thank you very much. And today we're very thrilled to swear in the new chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Paul Atkins. He's a fantastic man and with great experience, but he's, above all, he's very smart. Congratulations to Paul, his wife, Sarah, and his entire family who are with us today. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you. Great job. That's great, Sarah. We're also grateful to be joined by our Secretary of the Treasury, who's doing it's the easiest job. I think it's probably the easiest job right now in government, would you say? Companies are coming out of the countries, are coming from all over. They want to just sign. We're doing okay. But you're doing really well. Thank you very much. Scott's going to be doing the swearing in. No one in America is more highly qualified to lead the SEC in this exciting time than Paul. He's devoted his entire life to the cause of free, clear, pro-growth, and pro-innovation securities markets. After graduating very, very high in his class, I will tell you, Vanderbilt University School of Law, Paul began a distinguished career practicing securities law in New York City before joining the staff of the SEC in the 1990s. In 2002, Paul was appointed as the commissioner of the SEC, a commissioner, and rode that to have fared thee well. He was so respected. He was a role which he promoted economic freedom and represented the agency at the U.S.-EU Transatlantic Economic Council, highly respected the World Economic Forum and the Transatlantic Business Dialogue. After completing his term in 2008, Paul began a successful consulting practice and continued to advocate for a common sense approach to securities regulation. Extremely complicated stuff, and he put a lot of common sense and saneness into it without heavy-handed bureaucracy and the harming of investors and workers and consumers and, frankly, our country itself. Paul has also been a leader in the emerging crypto and blockchain industries and served as co-chair of the Digital Chambers Token Alliance. He's the perfect man to lead this agency at a time when crypto innovators are urgently in need of, and they want so badly, they want it to happen, regulatory certainty and clear rules of the road. In addition to helping build this new framework that will allow the United States to maintain its financial and technological dominance long into the future, Paul will end the weaponization of the SEC and stop the lawless enforcement practices that occurred during the Biden administration. They were vicious people. They were vicious and horrible for our country. Paul is passionate about protecting American liberty and American economic leadership, and we are truly grateful and honored that he has answered the call of public service as he always has. He's a man that just, we were looking for the right person for this very important job, and just he was at the top of everyone's list. So, Paul, I want to congratulate you and your family. You have an incredible family, and you have an incredible father and husband. I can say that, I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. If I'm not, please speak up now. So thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much. And I'll ask Scott to come up and do the swearing in. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and
faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
on which I'm about to enter.
So help me God. So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, thank you all very much, and especially thank you, Mr. President. I'm really honored by your trust and confidence that you've placed in me to head the SEC. But I really must say the Oval Office has never looked better. One could really describe it as glistening, and I've heard stories about it, and it's true. It's the touch of a confident president leading with optimism towards an American golden age. So thank you for that. And so to my wife, Sarah, and to our sons, Stuart, Peter, and Henry, thank you all for your steadfast love and support. I'm grateful for the sacrifices that each of you have made to enable me to serve America. And thanks to Secretary Bessent for administering the oath as well. But a note about my family real quickly. Today would have been my father's 114th birthday. Colonel Atkins was a veteran of World War II and Korea. And yesterday would have been my late mother's birthday. So it seems altogether fitting to honor them and the example that they've set so that their son could stand here speaking to you all today. So to my friends, my family, my colleagues who've worked with me throughout my career and helped make my appointment by President Trump even possible, thank you for your work and dedication. There are many who quietly serve the nation in mostly unsung roles, and I continue to be the beneficiary of your professionalism and good judgment. So at the helm of the SEC, I can confidently say it is a new day. It's time for the SEC to end its waywardness and return to its core mission that Congress set for it: investor protection, fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and capital formation. I will work to protect investors from fraud, keep politics out of how our securities laws and regulations are applied, and
I see some comments coming in as to who this guy is. His name is Paul Atkins, and he is the new SEC chairman, which is going to be big because, as you heard of his background as they were introducing him, he's big into digital assets, Bitcoin, blockchain, all of the stuff that President Trump wants to further as he goes through the next 3 or 4 years. So this is Paul Atkins, the new SEC chairman.
Advance clear rules of the road that encourage investment in our economy to the benefit of Americans. A top priority of my chairmanship will be to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets through a rational, coherent, and principled approach. We will work to ensure that the United States is the best and most secure place in the world to invest and to do business. So, Mr. President, again, thank you very much for your graciousness in extending such a warm welcome to my family and me today in this storied room. I look forward to working with you, with colleagues in your administration, and with Congress to advance your agenda to bolster the economy and build on U.S. leadership of the global market. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Any questions for Paul?
Mr. Atkins, if I may, can you provide, what is your sense of how the CFTC and the SEC will differ when it comes to crypto regulation?
I hope that we won't. Brian Quintenz, whom the president has nominated, is a great guy. I've known him for years, and I intend to work closely with him, and I really look forward to his leadership there. I think there's no reason why the two agencies can't be working cheek to jowl on these issues for the American investor and the American economy.
Mr. Atkins, do you have a view on Chinese liquid stocks on the U.S.
That's subject of statute, and Congress has acted, and I look forward to diving into those issues.
Mr. Atkins, do you have a sense, will the Democratic commissioner continue in her role?
Her term, I guess, goes through, it ended last year, and I guess she can hold over till the end of the year, so it's up to Mr. President and then Congress to deal with that.
Mr. President, on China, your press secretary has suggested that some progress is being made. Are negotiations actively underway? And do you agree with Secretary Bessent, who has suggested that the current standoff with China is not sustainable?
We're doing fine with China. We're doing fine with almost every country. Everybody wants to have involvement with the United States. As you know, we were losing $5 billion a day during the Biden administration, during that last year, was a horror show, what they were doing on trade, $5 billion a day. And now we have it down to a very low number because we're getting 25% from the automobile industry, from autos. We're getting 25% for steel, 25% for aluminum, and we're getting the baseline of 10%. And think of it, we're losing almost $2 trillion on trade. And those days are gone. We're not going to do that again. We're not going to let that happen. We're being ripped off by almost, I don't say every, but very close to every country, everywhere in the world, just being ripped off left and right. You had no leadership. You had people that didn't know what they were doing. And we're going to turn the country around. We have a very nice phrase, make America great again. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to start with trade. We're doing really well. I see the stock market was up nicely, but this is a transition period, and it's going to be a little while, but we are doing well with every country. Ultimately, we have something they want, and you have to view it that way. We have something they want, and they want very badly. And, it's going to be, they're coming in, they're taking treasure, they're taking jobs when they do that, and they have to pay. And they don't have to pay if they come in and create their own jobs. If they do their product here, if they build their product or make their product in the United States, we have absolutely no tariffs, and we welcome people. But we're taking in a lot of money from tariffs, and our country is getting stronger all the time because the other was not sustainable.
Started with China.
Are you going to play hardball with them? Are you going to mention COVID?
Well, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to mention COVID. I'm not going to say, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice, and we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. So we want them involved, but they have to, and other countries have to make a deal. And if they don't make a deal, we'll set the deal. Because we're the ones that set the deal. Scott and Howard and myself and others, we're going to be setting the deal, and it'll be a fair deal for everybody, and it'll be, I think it's a process that's going to go pretty quickly. We've spoken to many, many countries, and we're getting their views on things. There are a lot of things. They have VAT taxes. They have everything you can have. Don't forget, as an example, the European Union was set up to take advantage of the United States. That's why it was set. And they've done that, but they're not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Mr. President, will you prevent Hamas from having any role in governing a post-war Gaza? And will Hamas have to be permanently eradicated for a ceasefire to be reached?
Well, we're not going to let Hamas do that. and we're going to see what happens with Gaza. But we've made a lot of progress in the Middle East, tremendous. Should have never happened. That date, that very special date, October 7th, should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president. But we'll be stopping that whole situation. Yeah, please.
Earlier today, Treasury Secretary Bessent suggested that with the tariff rates as high as they are now, it's effectively an embargo of trade between the United States and China. Do you see it that way?
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to there. We were talking about fentanyl, where, various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
And what level do you think it'll come down to if you have it?
It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to have. It's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, but they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made, so that won't happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally work together. So I think it's going to work out very well. But no, it's at 145%. There will not be anywhere near that number.
Mr. President, Reagan raised the daily caller. On the work that your team is doing on the border, are you happy with the rate of deportations right now?
Oh, it's amazing what they've done on the borders. Thank you for the question, because honestly, it's one of the great successes. We have virtually nobody coming in illegally. We do have people coming in legally because we want people to come in, but we have nobody coming in through the border virtually. We were having hundreds of thousands of people a month come in under Biden. And they came in from prisons, they came in from mental institutions, they came in from gangs in Venezuela and other countries all over the world, not just South America. They were emptying their prisons into the United States. Venezuela emptied its prisons out, but many countries emptied their prisons into the Congo, as an example, in Africa, emptied their prisons into the United States, and we're getting them out. And I hope we get cooperation from the courts, because, we have thousands of people that are ready to go out, and you can't have a trial for all of these people. It wasn't meant, the system wasn't meant, and we don't think there's anything that says that. Look, we are getting some very bad people, killers, murderers, drug dealers, really bad people, the mentally ill, the mentally insane. They emptied out insane asylums into our country. We're getting them out, and a judge can't say, no, you have to have a trial. The trial's going to take 2 years, and no, we're going to have a very dangerous country if we're not allowed to do what we're entitled to do. And I won an election based on the fact that we get them out, and we've done an amazing job. Look, we've stopped. Everybody admits, even the radical left, we have got the strongest border we've ever had, even stronger than what I had it for 4 years. We had a great border. We solved the problem. But it's a tad stronger, which is, I don't know if that's disappointing or not to me. I beat my own record, but I appreciate the question.
So you have to wonder if the insanity, and like he's talking about, the crazy people, maybe it wasn't just the newcomers. Maybe the judiciary has been seeded with complete nutbags. I mean, serious nutbags. I don't want to get too far in the weeds and what's been happening today with the judges, but oh my gosh, if you weren't completely sure that they were trying to do everything they can to stop Trump, today pretty much put the exclamation point on it. We got judges asking for depositions and interrogatories, and they want to know why this happened. Wait a minute, this isn't a trial this way. You're a district court judge. Wait till you see this one that popped up about 3:30. This one blew me away. Just in, another federal judge, Royce Lamberth, issues an order that the Trump administration must restore the Voice of America, the state-funded media outlet, and rehire all the employees. So you're telling me President Trump can't even turn off a radio station. He has no power to stop a radio station or television station, Voice of America. He can't do that. And you got to hire everybody back. You're not allowed to fire anybody. You're not allowed to stop the funding. You're probably not allowed to bring Carrie Lake in as the person running it. Just think what these people are saying. The President of the United States can go bomb another country, but he can't close up a radio or TV station. When I read this, I was like, okay, you guys see what's coming. He's going to have no choice. I just want to make sure all of you are prepared for this, because there's no way this can possibly be how a country is managed. Doesn't matter what part of the country they're going to go get some judge and he fired all these people and he stopped the funding for X, Y. You can bet your butt at this point they're going to make him keep funding Harvard. There is no end to what these people are going to do. They have obviously planned this for quite some time. This was why Joe Biden was pushing in all these judges. They've been sitting there like sleeper cells, to the point where the President of the United States can't even turn off a media outlet. Just let that sink in. And you got to rehire everybody you fired. No, sorry, you don't have the power to do that. What? So I can push this button though, right? You can't stop me from pushing this button, but I can't turn off a radio station or a television station. That's where we are right now. We are approaching danger territory. We're approaching something where you're forcing him to do what he obviously doesn't want to do, but all you guys are seeing now going, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. There's no way that anybody can convince me that a district court judge can tell the President of the United States, you can't even fire people who work at a media outlet. So what you're essentially saying is nobody, once they're here, can ever be deported under President Trump. Nope, can't deport anybody, and you can't fire anybody, and you better keep paying. Because that's what they're telling all of us. Make no doubt about it. It is absolutely what these judges are saying. You can't do this. Under what authority do you have to tell me, as the President of the United States, I can't turn something off? I'm a judge. That's it. And rehire them all and make your taxpayers pay for all of this. It's coming, people. Because the only alternative to it not coming is for the 9 people on the Supreme Court to get off their duff and do something. The 9 people at the Supreme Court have to stand up and go, enough! Enough! Shut it down, as Chef Ramsay would say. Shut it down. Because every single day it's like, boop, they were playing whack-a-mole. It's like, what? Can you imagine being the person that's got to tell President Trump, we got another judgment, President Trump. Okay, what's this one? You can't fire the people at Voice of America. You got to rehire all of them. And you can't withdraw the funding. I'm preparing myself. You need to prepare yourself. Trump has these pressers. He's smiling. He's trying to run the country. But you can see where it's going. You don't have to be Nostradamus. You can sit back and go, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all. Not one bit.
Thank you, Daniel.
Can you talk about how you managed to lower prices so rapidly?
Well, thank you, Daniel. The question is about prices. The prices are going down, not going up. One of the big things is energy is going down. I see that we had a couple of states where gasoline was at $1.98 a gallon. Nobody thought they'd see that for years, maybe, and that's a big thing. And we opened up our wells. We opened up our drilling. We have more product now for sale. And we're also going to be selling outside of the country to a large extent. It's going to bring down our deficits, largely going to bring down our deficits. But if you remember my first week, I was standing here, Paul, and they were screaming about eggs. The cost of eggs have gone through the roof. They were up like 500, crazy, like 4 or 5 times. And we won't have eggs for Easter, they were saying. There will be no eggs. You can't order eggs. They wanted us to order plastic in the shape of eggs. Well, yesterday we had 48,000 people at the Easter hunt. They call it the Easter roll at the White House. And we had all eggs. And as you know, the cost of eggs has come down like 93, 94% since we took office. And they're pretty much normally priced now. Great job. Our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, did a very good job. But groceries have come down. It's all coming down. The only thing that hasn't come down, but it hasn't gone up much, are interest rates, and we think the Fed should lower the rate. We think that it's a perfect time to lower the rate, and would like to see our chairman be early or on time as opposed to late. Late's not good.
Mr. President,
I don't want to talk about that because I have no intention of firing him.
Mr. President,
there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some type of bonus whenever they have a child. Are you considering that? Or
Sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, please.
So you clarify, you have no intention of firing Jerome Powell because here, Economic Government Hassett a few days ago said that you and people in the White House were studying this idea of possibly before his term ends.
No.
Do you have any plans on doing it?
None whatsoever. Never did. The press runs away with things. No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. This is a perfect time to lower interest rates. If he doesn't, is it the end? No, it's not. But it would be good timing. It could have taken place earlier. But no, I have no intention to fire him.
Last time we talked to him, sir.
I don't want to comment on that. That doesn't matter.
Mr. President, you said...
When can we expect the Epstein documents to be released? The rest of them?
Which documents?
The Epstein files?
I don't know. I'll speak to the Attorney General about that. I really don't know. I know that we've done the RFK. The Kennedy, Martin Luther King is out there very shortly, so we'll find out. But we've really announced we're doing them in full transparency. You know, when we did JFK, people were saying, "Oh, maybe it wasn't all; it was all," and people actually went up to the office and they looked at some things that were, not really easily available, and they were amazed that we gave it all. And I don't know if it solved any problems for people. People still have questions one way or the other, but that I'm not. But 100% of all of these documents are being delivered. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you said you're ultimately going to make a deal with China, but where do things stand right now? Have you talked to him?
My relationship, my relationship with President Xi is great. It's been great for a long time. We've had a very good relationship, and I think we'll make a deal with China.
Mr. President, in your meeting with...
If we don't make a deal, we'll set it. We'll just set the number, and, think they'll want to be a part of the United States. We're doing great. This is the golden age, as Paul said. We're talking about the golden age. There will never be a time like this, in my opinion. And China wants to be a part of that, too.
Mr. President, in your meeting with investigation, sir, on the Butler investigation, are you getting intelligence briefings? And do you think what really happened?
I have. I'll keep that to myself. Very personal.
Are you concerned about the impact of tariffs on West Coast ports? We've just seen sharp drawdown in Chinese imports.
I think that everyone's going to do well in this country because of tariffs. We have $7 trillion of investment already. You can go back many years, and for a whole year, they haven't had anywhere near that. Mostly, they'd be well under $1 trillion of investment. And we've got $7 trillion. We really started 5 weeks ago. And in just a few weeks, literally, we have $7 trillion, which is a record for a year. There's never been a year with that much. And that's coming in, I think, for two reasons. It's coming because of an election that people liked, and it's coming in because of tariffs. And if you look at Apple's going to start building here. Right now, they're in China mostly. $500 billion. We have the computer all of the computer chip companies are coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen before, as you know. Jensen came in for $500 billion. You saw that. A great guy, highly respected. Mr. Wei coming in for $250 billion. Nobody's ever seen anything. And the auto companies are coming in. I can name 8 right now already, auto plants that are either starting or about ready to start construction. There's never been, and the United Auto Workers and the non-union workers in the automobile industry, they love Trump, and I love them. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Congratulations, Paul.
All right, so there's some people reporting online that there's been a meeting set between President Trump and President Xi Jinping out of China. I've been looking. I can't verify it, so I can't tell you that it's actually happened. But I'm seeing little bits of information here and there, but nothing that I can really stand behind and said this meeting is happening in May. So we'll have to see. But as you heard there, and some people said President Trump looks tired. Well, yeah, the guy's he's trying to do so much. It's this morning when I did the interview with Tim Burchett. You guys saw him, and some people said he looked tired. You're fighting every single day against an enemy that is evil, relentlessly evil. And so, yeah, it's got to make you tired. It's got to make you feel like, is this ever going to end? How are we going to get through all of this? Every single day, another judge says this, another judge says that. And like I said earlier, I don't know who the person is that has to go to President Trump and say to him, yeah, I got something else to tell you. And every single day, it becomes more and more ridiculous. And so some of you have been asking, what's going to happen? And some people are saying martial law, and I don't think it's going to go to martial law, because martial law would basically be taking over cities and telling you got to stay in the house and everything like that. I don't think that's where it's going. Maybe some sort of limited martial law in scope, and I mentioned it yesterday. Maybe there's some sort of plan. I'd love to be able to talk to General Flynn, because he might say, Barry, you're off your rocker, not going to do that. I was thinking you just surround the Capitol, you just take the judges and cut. I don't know. But I know we can't exist as a country with this happening. They know this. They're pushing it further and further and further to this culmination of something. Just keep poking. And just so you know, as much as they're poking Trump with these orders, as you see them, as you see, like you just saw it, and I read that to you, it's poking you. Because you're sitting back going, no, this does not make any sense. And we're seeing in polls, not just by Mark Mitchell, but other people. This is a 80-20, 95-5 issue. The people are like, no, you can't do this. You can't put these kinds of handcuffs on the president. You're destroying the very essence of the United States of America. But they keep doing it. And they keep doing it. And I'm not talking about the nuts. The nuts are loving it. The nuts want this to happen. These are the ones who are spray painting the Tesla dealership. These are the ones who are setting it on fire. These are the communists that have been waiting for this moment. And I'm just wondering how many of these judges, how many of these politicians are actually communists, and this is what their takeover looks like. A couple days ago when I was talking to General Flynn, I had an idea with Patrick Byrne about showing the movie The Enemy from Within, but I can't because it is under copyright, so we wouldn't be able to show it. But in that movie, if some of you have seen The Enemy from Within, we've heard that phrase, and now we're seeing it. These people aren't working on the best interest of the United States. They're working in some other capacity. If you were working in the best interest of the United States, you wouldn't be causing these problems right now. These people wouldn't be sitting in El Salvador begging to have some guy, this one guy who's down there who's got MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles, but you got to bring him home. And now we found out today, just like I said, now they are saying he should be released, not even put in jail. And they don't want you deporting anybody. So if you can't deport anybody and you can't fire anybody, we have a short window to make this happen. We have a very, very short window. It may seem like 4 years. It's not 4 years. It's very, very short. They know it. I mean, I'm not sure what John Roberts is doing, because he seems to be kicking the can down the road. And by kicking the can down the road, what is he saying? Or rather, by not saying what is he saying, he doesn't want to get involved for whatever reason. Whoever it is that's pulling these people's strings, they've got an evil, demented plan. And I don't know many moves that Trump can do other than do the big one. So we're all living our lives. We're enjoying life. He told us to. But keep an eye open, because this can't keep up much longer. This cannot continue the way it's continuing right now. Pretty soon they'll tell him he can't stay in the White House. I have no idea. You're not allowed to use Air Force One. We're taking it away. I don't know. That sounds ridiculous, but so has everything else they've said. None of it makes any sense. None of it. But here we are. So I'll be right back. People often comment how I keep up with coverage of President Trump. Trust me, it's not easy. I get good sleep. I have a very encouraging and supportive wife. I've been working out again, and I've been eating right. That's probably the best thing. Eat right and exercise. I also take a couple of supplements that have really helped me and helped my energy. Let me tell you about one of them right now. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made, and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. And I've got grandkids, so that appealed to me. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Barry. You can see it on the screen right there. chuckdefense.com/Barry, or by clicking the link below in this video. Trust me, it will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Barry, and click on the link in the description below to watch the video right now. Trust me, it's 100% free to watch the video. No charge whatsoever, a couple minutes every time. You won't believe how simple it is. Watch his method by clicking the link in the description box below. chuckdefense.com/Barry. And just a reminder, the legendary Chuck Norris is a whopping 84 years old. He's even older than Donald Trump. And yet, he has more energy than most people. I mean, that's awesome. He discovered he could create dramatic changes to his health simply focusing on 3 things that sabotage our body as we age. All right, so go to chuckdefense.com/Barry and check out that video. So, I get this question quite a bit. Barry keeps talking about President Trump doing the big one. Does anyone know what he means? Now, I'm stepping out on an island, but I'm going to ask you to walk across the water and meet me. And by doing that, what I'm going to ask you is, A, and you can answer in the comments, do you think that this is sustainable? Do you think that this country can survive if President Trump can't do most of the stuff that he wants to do, the stuff that you voted for him to do? Can we survive as a country? Would he be voted back in? Would you be able to help? Well, he can't be voted back in, maybe. But J.D. Vance, if they're not going to allow him to do any of the stuff that you voted for, how are you going to feel? What's going to happen to this country? No tax on tips? Nope, not going to happen. No tax on overtime? Nope, not going to happen. No tax on Social Security? Not going to happen. Tax cuts, Trump tax cuts going permanent? Not going to happen. Can't go ahead and deport newcomers? Can't do it. Can't fire these people, can't stop the money flow. Harvard's suing, everybody's suing because they want your money. If President Trump can't stop that bleeding, and he can't put that tourniquet on the United States government, a government that's $6 trillion or so in debt, if he can't stop that, because nobody else is even trying, if he can't stop that and he can't put a tourniquet on that wound, we're going to bleed out. That's the first thing every single one of you have to accept. There are no plan Bs. There are no choices. There is nothing else. If he doesn't get it done, the Democrats aren't going to touch it. They're going to keep spending. They're going to keep taxing you. They're going to take more of your money. They already said it. That was Kamala Harris's platform. We need to tax unrealized capital gains. Huh? So if you know that Trump not being able to do what he has to do pretty much means there is no country. I can't talk to you if you don't realize that. There's nothing I can say if you don't accept the fact that if he doesn't do what he's planning on doing, it's not an if, it's just a matter of when this country goes down. Just don't have the money. We don't have it. There's not enough taxes you can raise to pay what we owe. They keep spending, both parties. So ask yourself that first question. Do you realize, have you done the homework to realize that where this country is right now, pre-Trump getting into office, the horizon was an unsustainable existence? Does that scare you? It should, because I want you to be honest with yourself. How do you, and if you don't believe me, if you think that it is sustainable, that we could pull out of this, tell us how. Go ahead and put it in the chat. How is it sustainable? What's going to happen that makes $6 trillion go away with a government that keeps wanting to tax you? I'll look. I'll wait. Because I've already done the numbers. I understand where things are. Your future, you think people worried about the tariffs causing problems with your 401k? That's nothing. That's nothing. See, the tariffs are a tool that can cause things to bounce back. Many of you saw that already with the stock market going up and down, and you're like, okay, so it's bobbing. It's not lost. What happens if you opened up your account and looked at it one day and it was zero? Oh, you're scaring me, Barry. You're being hyperbolic. I'm asking you, $6 trillion in debt. What's the answer if this isn't? So the answer to that question is, what am I talking about? Is what would you do? What would you do if your child was in a pool drowning? Would you look at him in the pool and just say, oh, well, guess we're going to have another one, honey. That one's not going to make it. Or would you do anything you possibly could to jump in, throw a rope, even if you couldn't swim? Even if you couldn't swim, you would jump in after that child. Anyone says otherwise, they're lying. They would tie off something and jump in and try to get to that child. Nobody else is coming into this deep end of the pool to save America. Only Trump is the one who's trying to save this child that's drowning in the water there. Nobody else. So what do you think happens if there's no Trump? So what would you do to make sure that doesn't happen? Well, the answer is anything. As the same way the people who want that child to drown would do anything to make sure that child drowns, because they're evil. They want that child not to be there? What are you willing to do to help save America? That's a big question that you have to begin thinking. And I'm not being overly dramatic. Just do the numbers. What do you think happens one day when you turn on the lights and they don't work? When there's no food in the grocery store, when there's no oil because, they don't want us drilling. There's a reason why Trump said drill, 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 baby, because we needed to make and become self-sustaining. The Democrats don't want us to be self-sustaining. They farmed out the oil. They farmed out the food. They let other countries siphon off your money by charging us tariffs and got pissed off because we're going to charge them back. So if there's any doubt in your mind to think that we'll be okay, you need to slap yourself and do a wake-up because it's crazy. Trump has to follow through on his promises, ignore these judges, and take this country back while we're still floating. What does ignoring those judges mean? See, I agree with you. But somebody said, what does Barry mean when he says he's got to do what he got to do? Well, what would you call ignoring the judges? Because I saw somebody said that Barry, martial law is crazy. You can't even discuss that. Okay, well, if we're going to ignore judges, what do you call that? What do you call at that point when the president of the United States or any country says we are no longer going to follow what the judiciary says? And then what happens when the president of the United States or any country says, nope, you people don't matter anymore. I'm not following your judgments. Your decisions are crap. Here's what we're going to do. So you can call it whatever you want. If you don't think it's martial law, what is it? What is it that a president can do at that moment? You can let me know. I'll wait. Call it what you want. Yeah, it's martial law. There can't be arrest. The courts are far too evil. We're going to have to fight them. And I'm disabled, but my right hand works. You got that right. The 15-minute radius communities, 15-minute communities, they've already started in England. He's going to have to follow his Article 2 authority as the Constitution clearly says it. So what happens if he follows that Article 2 authority, which I completely agree with you, just follow that thought plan. What happens when the judges rule against his authority of Article 2 and Article 3? What do you get at that point? See, I'm just asking the question. You're right. Yeah, you just ignore them. Just do what you need to do. What's that called? See, people don't like that term, martial law. What's it called? Because it is, in essence, going nuclear on our soil. Not blowing up any bombs, but from a governmental perspective, that's it. That's pulling the pin. And I think some of you guys are realizing, yeah, enforce your Article 2, do your Article 3. Okay, but when the other people say, no, you can't do it, what exactly are you going to do? Now, we know they can't do anything. There's nobody they can call. They can't call the Justice Department. They can't call the FBI. They can't call the marshals. What are they going to do? You'll answer your own question here in a second. Because one man enter, two men leave. It turns into a Mad Max world because now it wouldn't necessarily be martial law because, we're in Florida. I'm not worried about it. I am not worried about it if Trump has to do what he has to do. Most of you in red states probably ain't worried about it. Governors would call out National Guard and make sure that none of the crazies are doing anything. So I don't think it's a full national martial law, but I think there's going to have to be something done about Washington. I mean, they can't do anything. So, we get 4,000 or 5,000 people who now are going to be residing in Gitmo. Sounds far-fetched? Not really. Not really. There are 100 senators. There are 400 people in Congress. That's 500 people if you took all of them. There are 600 or 700 district court judges. So now we're up to 1,200 minus the people who are good. There are, eight, maybe 6 people on the Supreme Court. It ain't going to take a whole lot for him to just say, this is what we're doing now. The question is, are you ready for that? Because then let's see, go ahead and round up some of the media. Don't let CNN, MSNBC even turn on. See, I've already game planned this out in my head going, this would be crazy. It wouldn't be that hard to do, but it is nuclear. I know some of you guys right now go, Barry, you sound crazy. Well, you're saying it. What is it? I'm in Tennessee. I'm ready for it. Yeah, some of us are going to be fine. Go burn up New York. I don't care. Burn up Chicago. I really don't care. But we're going to have to stop this. Somehow he has to stop it. Maybe send Stephen Miller to talk to some of these judges and listen, this ain't going to happen, bro. You can't make these kind of decisions. You can't enforce it. You have zero enforcement ability. None. You can't even make the Treasury pay these people. All you have, literally, is a piece of paper that says, I rule for Harvard. So? I rule for... So? What are you going to do with it? Wipe your butt with it. See, that puts us in a whole different situation at that point because I don't know what the term is. I don't think it's martial law because it's not like he's calling out the army. You don't need to. You can't do anything. You can't stop me. So I don't know what that definition is. I'd love to talk to Mark Levin or somebody like, what is it if he just says the hell with them? Can anyone define it? Maybe we start putting that out on X. Can anyone define what it's called if Trump just tells the Supreme Court to go pound sand? And don't tell me anything about constitutional crisis. What exactly would happen if the Supreme Court said X, Y, and Z, and Trump said, stick it? What do you do at that point? And anyone who's a lawyer here, just tell me. What is it called? I really don't know. But I do know we can't keep going what we're doing. So we're going to get to that situation. It's coming. I don't know what you want to call it, but when the Supreme Court or these district judges say this, this, and this, and he says no. And they're going to look around and go, what do you mean no? No. What do you do? I can't call them. I can't call them. Okay. Now go back in your black robe and go back in your chambers and shut up. This means nothing. You in the media, you can scream. I don't care. There's 77 million of us. There's 77 or 80 million of us are like, okay, do what you got to do. See, the one question is, with all of the gaslighting and propaganda, how many Trump supporters are truly going to stand up and say, do it? See, that's what I'd love to know. I'd love to see Mark Mitchell do a poll. And that poll would say, listen, if Donald Trump ignores the Supreme Court and all of the district judges and just does what he feels he needs to do, are you still with him? Matter of fact, I will send Mark that. I'll send an email to him. That would be a perfect question. Poll. Trump turns his back and says, go screw yourself. We're doing it this way, and that's it. Are you with him? I am. You? Are 77 million with him? I don't care about the nuts. That's not who I'm worried about. I want to know, are Trump supporters okay? And if that's it, then we know what's going to happen. Yeah, do it. Me. You guys are saying it. Mm-hmm. Somebody says Governor Bob Ferguson signs bill restricting armed forces from entering Washington. Okay. You can't come here. Okay, so when the Humvees start rolling down the road, what are you going to do? See, we're at a situation right now where most people haven't thought this out. And they're thinking their signature means everything. Which I think is why they want to get rid of Pete Hegseth. And they're terrified because he's throwing people out left and right. You're either down with us or you're out. No gray area. Get out, get out, get out. Let's bring in people who are going to do what we want them to do. That's some frightening stuff right there. That's frightening. And I'm not saying that's where it is going to happen, but it sure does look like it. You know, wait till I show you the rest of this stuff, because the rest of this stuff is going to lead you further in terms of trying to think about it right now, because it's crazy. All right, let's continue.
Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to be here for the launch of the Task Force to Eradicate Anti-Christian Bias as outlined in the President's Executive Order. Joining me today are members of the task force and individuals who have been impacted by the anti-Christian bias. Together, this task force will identify any unlawful anti-Christian policies, practices, or conduct across the government, seek input from the faith-based organizations and state governments to end anti-Christian bias.
Question, point of order, for you guys, not her, because I know what she's doing. Why would we need in America a task force to go after anti-Christian motivations from people? A country founded on Christianity has to now form a task force to go after people to stop being anti-Christian. And guess who those people are that this task force is going to concentrate on? You ready for it? The government. Our country, founded on Judeo-Christian values, is having today in 2025 form a task force to go after people who are anti-Christian. Let that one sink in. I bet you that wasn't on your bingo card. Well, we got to form a task force to stop these people from being anti-Christian? What the hell happened? How did we get here? How did we get to the point where a country founded on something has to put together a task force to stop people from being anti-Christian?
Find and fix deficiencies in existing and regulatory practices that might contribute to the anti-Christian bias. As President Trump has stated, the Biden administration engaged in an egregious pattern of targeting peaceful Christians while ignoring violent anti-Christian offenses. The president is right. Biden's Department of Justice abused and targeted Christians. Pro-life Christians were arrested and imprisoned for peacefully praying outside abortion clinics. The FBI spied on traditional Catholics in their parishes.
Now let that sink in. People were arrested for praying outside of baby removal clinics. And you got nuts right now who are bombing businesses because they don't like the owner of the company. Praying? You go to jail. Bomb something? Did you see what happened in Minnesota today? Minnesota caught one of the guys who actually was defacing and scraping and doing stuff to Teslas. He happened to work for Tim Waltz, so they're not going to charge him. Go ahead, it's okay. It's only a Tesla. But you want to put people in jail who are just praying, right? I'm praying. I got to go to jail. Wow.
President Biden declared Easter Sunday to be Transgender Day of Visibility. No longer. Vandalism against churches was 8 times higher in 2023 than it was in 2018. And it's at President Trump's directive, we ended those abuses at the Department of Justice on day one. We dropped 3 ongoing cases against pro-lifers and redefined the FACE Act to ensure that abuse would not continue and that American tax dollars were not used to support the weaponization of our legal system to target Christians. Just a few weeks ago, we convicted a man in Arizona for a plot to bomb Christian churches. The Department of Justice will protect religious liberty, for Christians and for all Americans. We'll work closely with everyone around this table and take a whole of government approach to solving this problem, and ultimately protect Americans' First Amendment rights. The First Amendment isn't just a line in the Constitution, it's the cornerstone of our American liberty. It guarantees every citizen the right to speak freely, worship freely, and live according to their conscience without government interference. Protecting Christians from bias is not favoritism, it's upholding the rule of law and fulfilling the constitutional promise. Thank you to President Trump. We have an incredible opportunity, all of us around this table, to protect the rights of all citizens from discrimination based on their religious beliefs.
So think about what she's saying. She's talking about protecting, as she just says, all citizens based upon, whatever their religious beliefs are. And you've got a Democrat Party that's flying internationally to plead for some guy who's a part of a organization that does things like what they do. They're not out there trying to help Catholics, Christians. They're nothing. Some of them didn't even post about Easter. They all post about Ramadan. They all post about this and that and the other thing. But AOC, not a word. Bernie Sanders, not a word. Squad, nothing. And it's okay that they feel that way. I don't have a problem. But these are supposedly our leaders, our political governmental leaders, who are showing you with no uncertain terms that they hate Americans. They hate Christians. They don't care. There was even an article today about how dare President Trump hold an Easter egg hunt when eggs cost so much. It was like $15,000 worth of eggs. Seriously? Maybe that's because he didn't have people running around the White House grounds holding their fake boobs. That was okay on Easter. On Easter. It was sacrilege, and Joe Biden calls himself a Catholic, and you let that happen on the grounds of during Easter. Man.
Thank you all for being here based on this executive order, and I look forward to doing great work together. Now, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. First, thanks everybody for coming.
Okay, so if you guys don't know who this guy is, this guy is Todd Blanche. You saw Todd Blanche's face a lot during the New York trial with Judge Merchan. And he's been in the shadows. Not many people. I'm leaving it up so you can see his face. Maybe now it'll blend. You're like, oh yeah, I remember him. He was up there. He was fighting for Trump during the whole insanity of New York trial. I firmly believe this guy is the key to the Department of Justice. Because I remember when I interviewed, I think it was Kyle Seraphin, and he says the deputy directors are the ones who seem to get most of the stuff done. And I'm like, okay, who's the deputy director of FBI? That's going to be Dan Bongino. And the deputy director of the DOJ is this guy, Todd Blanche. And you haven't heard much from him since he's been in office. This is the first time I've seen a public display of him where Pam Bondi, hey, we're going to let you talk to Todd Blanche right here. So I don't know what he's been doing behind the scenes, but I just found it interesting today that we were basically introduced to him.
And for members of the task force for being here today and for your commitment to this important effort. If you look around this table and the leadership that's here, I know that combined with our shared determination to establish sound, effective policies and to push back against any form of anti-Christian or anti-religious bias that has taken root within the federal government, this will allow us to carry out the president's executive order. I want to echo what the Treasurer Bondi just said. Supporting the free expression of faith is not just a constitutional principle. It is something that all forms of civil government should be encouraging. At its core, the executive order we're here to talk about today affirms a fundamental truth. Every individual has the freedom to choose their religious faith. And once made, that choice should never be subject to discrimination or bias from our government. Now, unfortunately, over the past several years, we've seen troubling signs to the contrary. We have witnessed actions that suggest an underlying bias against people of faith, particularly Christians. This task force was created to make sure this never happens again in America. We will investigate what went wrong, uncover facts, and ultimately chart a path forward. So today, we're going to hear from individuals who will share their personal stories that reflect broader trends and challenges from the Biden administration's policies that, frankly, strip people of their inalienable rights. We're also going to hear from members of this task force about the ways in which anti-Christian sentiment may have shown up in their departments or their agencies. A key challenge that we face is a public misunderstanding of our form of government. We're a constitutional republic.
See, I haven't heard many people in public say that. You guys know, I know, they're always talking about my democracy, democracy. And he just said it, it's a constitutional republic. That's how we need to begin referring to it, because that's one of the psyops and gaslighting MK Ultra stuff that they keep saying over and over. He's a threat to the democracy. We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. What's the importance of that? Because basically the states rule. So if now they're going to make that a preeminent point, if they're going to start talking about constitutional republic, then it kind of makes sense to the other stuff. I find it compelling that they're having a meeting, a task force to stop anti-Christian meddling, and the entire cabinet is here. I mean, you can see Kristi Noem right there. If they pulled back, next to her is Linda McMahon. And so this just wasn't a DOJ event. They're all there. And so there's something that they're planning and how they're cooking up. And the abrupt way he ends this, because he's the one who basically tells the press, get out. And I'm like, okay, something's going on.
Pure democracy. And this distinction matters because in a republic, individual rights are protected even when unpopular. And misunderstanding this distinction allows our institutions and media to misrepresent our founding principles. Our government's purpose is to secure rights, not restrict them. So, yes, this task force has a big job ahead, but it's a vital one, and it's one that we're going to get done. Finally, I want to thank the members of the media who are with us today. We appreciate your attention and your presence for this opening portion of the meeting. At this time, we'll be moving into our internal discussions, and so if you would please make your way out, we'll then continue with the rest of our work in a closed session. Thank you very much.
That was interesting. All right, so this is it. You guys get your pictures? Step, get out. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that meeting. That would have been something. DC Drano, somebody said Trump needs to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to be able to deport the millions of newcomers. What do you think that means? What do you think it means when you suspend the writ of habeas corpus? You may want to go look that up. Do some research on what does it mean. Ask Rock. What does it mean when you suspend the writ of habeas corpus? You know what that means? You know what? Maybe we can do a little homework together here. Why don't we just ask Rock together? Okay. What? And I don't have to send you. What does suspending habeas corpus mean? All right. You ready for this? So we're going to take a moment and do some edumacating, and we're going to ask Grok. Hey, Grok, okay, tell us. Let me go to a single screen here so Grok can see it. All right. My question was, what does suspending habeas corpus mean? You can see the question. Suspending habeas corpus means temporarily halting the legal right to challenge unlawful detention or imprisonment. Habeas corpus, Latin for you shall have the body, is a fundamental legal principle that allows individuals to seek relief from unlawful confinement by requiring authorities to justify their detention before a court. So now you will no longer have to justify that. When habeas corpus is suspended, typically during extreme circumstances like war, rebellion, national emergency, the government can detain people without promptly presenting them to a court or providing immediate justification. This allows authorities to hold individuals indefinitely without formal charges or trial, bypassing standard judicial oversight. Bypassing standard judicial oversight. Historically, suspensions are rare and controversial to their impact on civil liberties. For example, in the United States, it was suspended during the Civil War by President Lincoln, and during Reconstruction, citing public safety. The U.S. Constitution allows suspension only in cases of rebellion or invasion when public safety requires it. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, but Congress must authorize it. See, that's where the key comes in when people are saying it, just do it, but Congress doesn't authorize it. You can't really do it. So how can you use habeas corpus if Congress isn't authorizing it? I'll tell you, because if you already have a national emergency declaration in place, I think that's how you can do it. Suspension doesn't eliminate all legal rights, but significantly weakens protections against arbitrary detention, raising risk of abuse. It's a drastic measure, often debated for balancing security with individual freedoms. Yeah, it's pretty much nuclear. It pretty much is nuclear at that point. And that's where we're going. Why are they not arresting people? Democrats are counting on winning again. That's what Gitmo is for. Bingo. Now, they did a whole lot of renovations down there. It holds like 30,000 people. It's down there in the island. Time to start filling it up. And I think Tom Homan's the right guy to do it. Yep, Civil War will begin. Mad Max. I looked up habeas. Where'd that one go? I looked up habeas corpus. Still not sure what it means. I just read it. Okay. J6, I support anything that Congress is compromised. Yep, vote in the midterms won't matter. I think enough of you realize at this point voting is an obsolete thing at this point, because we won. We won with a mandate, overwhelmingly swept all the swing states, and look what's happening. Look where you are. What has voting got you? Until you can get all the cockroaches out the house, you're still going to have people, the cockroaches laying eggs. And that's what we're seeing happen. I don't like scorched earth is coming. Yeah. I don't want to see it, but I don't see anybody. I've seen some people, I don't want to see it. I don't want to do that. What do you want to do? Because, Carmen, you're saying it. Time to fight like a Democrat. Time to get dirty. Time to realize this is it. Draw the line in the sand. Put the chip on your shoulder. Do whatever you need to do, because nobody's answering the question, what do you do if you don't do anything? If you just hope it's going to be okay. That's where we're headed. All right, so I believe the next section is RFK Jr. with an amazing announcement and press conference. This one's a little bit longer. As you may know, RFK Jr. today at 4 o'clock said that we're going to just pull all of the dyes and poisons basically out of food and pharmaceuticals. However, the trick with this is that it doesn't go into effect until 2026. So now they've given the Democrats, I don't know how you vote against this. I don't know how anybody would have a problem against healthier food. I'm sure the Democrats will say something tomorrow. But it doesn't make any sense. So in 2026, if they're going to like push this back in 2 years to give companies and corporations time to get their acts together, who knows what'll happen in the midterms. I don't even know if this is an executive. Let's listen in.
Thank you, Governor Morrissey. Thank you, Speaker Schultz. Thank you to Dr. Mark Hyman, who's been my friend and partner on these issues for over 20 years. Thanks, Vonnie Harry, who's been an extraordinary leader. And then Marty McCary, I'm so grateful that you agreed to join the administration. And Jay Bhattacharya, will you guys come up here and stand behind me? We have an amazing team at HHS. You know, when my uncle was president in the 1960s, we had the healthiest people in the world. And one of the basic assumptions of our country was that because we were robust people, because we were vigorous, because we were tough, we had what my uncle called this beef jerky toughness that was responsible for our country being the land of the brave and the home of the free, the greatest industrial power in the world, the wealthiest country. We owned half the wealth on earth when my uncle was president, and part of that was because of the vigor of our society. And that's one of the reasons he started the Presidential Council on Physical Fitness, because he saw that he felt that Americans were getting soft and it was going to steal from us and erode all of our leadership, our moral authority, and our values, and our role as an exemplary nation. And since his death, we've had this extraordinary chronic disease epidemic. When my uncle was president, 3% of American kids had chronic disease. Today, it's around 60%. And these are a broad category. The ones that Marty mentioned, like ADHD, the neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, and autism. All of these are injuries that I never heard of when I was a kid. They were not part of the nomenclature. They weren't part of the dialogue. There was zero spent in this country treating chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today, it's about $1.8 trillion annually. It's bankrupting our nation. 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. Oh, how are we going to maintain our global leadership with such a sick population? We have all these autoimmune diseases, these exotic diseases, and again, I never heard of: juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, and 100 others that were just unknown when I was a kid. I never knew anybody with a peanut allergy. I never knew anybody with a food allergy. Why do 5 of my 7 kids have allergies? I never knew of anybody who had eczema. I knew of a very small number of children who had asthma, but that has exploded as well today. And our fertility is dropping dramatically. Teenagers in this country today have the same testosterone levels as 68-year-old men. Our girls are reaching puberty 6 years early, from 10 to 14 years old. And this is existential for our country. And we have to address it. And one of the probably, when I met with, and I want to commend the food companies for working with us to achieve this agreement or this settlement. And when I went in a few months or about a month ago to meet with a few food companies, I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said, if they want to add petroleum, if they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us. And without our knowledge or consent. And unfortunately, we're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient and additive in food that we can legally address. One of the problems is that the industry, which all of these industries cast a dark shadow historically over this agency. And there's so many conflicts that we are now systematically eliminating. That has allowed them to suppress the science. There's shockingly few studies, even on food dyes, and on all these other ingredients as well. And Jay Bhattacharya, who is here and who is running, the director of NIH, is now narrowly targeting these kind of food additives for scientific study, so that one by one we can start eliminating them where they can. Where we can't, there's things that we'll never be able to eliminate, like sugar. And sugar is poison, and Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this, a typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door. In our most recent study from NIH, 38% of American teens, it's half our adult population. This is existential. We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget. We can't continue to exist like this. And the problem is industry is making money on keeping us sick. As Jay pointed out, ADHD is associated with all these behavioral disorders. But those disorders are treated not by changing our diet, providing medications to treat our kids. And they get medicated, and that's the only solution. And, I would point out that there is part of the etiology of these diseases is a kind of media malpractice, a mass psychosis that has our media not talking about this. And one of the possible reasons for that is the amount of money that's coming from the pharmaceutical companies into our media and from these food companies for the advertising. The advertising has at least plays a factor. So that revenue, that extraordinary revenue stream, in disabling their capacity or their inclination for skepticism and for critical thinking. So Americans don't know what they're eating, and they don't know the implications of those things. And for those products, Mark Hyman says in his book, the 10-day sugar detox diet, which I'll give a plug to, is a very good book. He talks about how dangerous sugar is and how it's as addictive as crack. And our children are addicted to it from when they're little kids. Our agency recommends, I think, a huge amount of sugar for kids from when they're born. And it's hurting them, and it's addicting them, and it's changing their taste buds so that they crave it. And it's disabling our population. So for those ingredients that we can't ban legally, we're going to start informing Americans about what they're eating. And we're going to try to work with Congress and the White House to make sure that we have adequate labeling so mothers who go into the grocery stores know what is good for their children and what is not. I want to say one other thing about the moms. When I went and spoke for the first time, and I met with the heads of all the food industry companies, one of the things that they said to us is that the worst thing for us is if we have a patchwork of legislation in all these different states, because then we're not capable of marketing nationally distributed products, because we're going to have different regulations in every state. And they didn't want that, and that's one of the reasons they came to the table with us. I want to thank Speaker Schultz, and I want to thank Governor Morrissey, and I visited many other governors in Virginia and West Virginia, in Arizona and Utah, and other states that are having these local bans. But those bans have given us leverage to make demands in the food company, and the only reason that those states have banned these products is because of these ladies and millions of more across the country, the warrior moms who have powered the MAHA movement. I just want to urge all of you, it's not the time to stop. It's the time to redouble your efforts because we have them on the run now. And we are going to win this battle. And 4 years from now, we're going to have most of these products off the market, or you will know about them when you go in the grocery store. So I want to thank you. And finally, and most importantly, I want to thank President Trump. President Trump often, says that he's going to make America great again. But he knows that he cannot make our country great again if our country is weak, if we're not healthy, if we don't have vigor, if we're not a robust people. He says that he is going to restore the American dream. And a healthy person has 1,000 dreams. The sick person only has one. And right now, there's 60% of the people in this country who have only one dream, that they can make it through a day without pain, with energy, without having to take medications. And we are going to change that for our country. And I want to thank the moms and thank President Trump for his confidence in my leadership and for allowing me to surround myself with such an extraordinary team of scientists who are going to restore transparency to this agency, who are going to do replicated science, who are going to restore gold standard science so we know what's in our food and we can eliminate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you to the press for attending today. We're going to take some questions from the press. If you can please say your first, last name, and outlet when I call on you, that would be great. Sarah, CNN.
Here. I got it. Okay. Hi. Sarah Overmall from CNN. Secretary Kennedy, you talked about how sugar is poison and how it's addictive. Is that the next step for you, looking at policies to reduce or even eliminate sugar in food products?
I don't think that we're going to be able to eliminate sugar, but I think what we need to do probably is give Americans knowledge about how much sugar is in their products, and also with the new nutrition guidelines, we'll give them a very clear idea about how much sugar they should be using, which is 0.
Yes. Hi, Helena Bottomiller-Evich with Food Fix. You mentioned the goal is to work with the food industry to get the most of the major synthetic food dyes out. What is the plan if the food industry does not voluntarily agree to do that? And what are the next steps if you can't get agreement within the industry? Thank you.
Well, here the industry has voluntarily agreed. And so, I think as we move forward, we are going to work with the industry. They've shown a lot of leadership on this right now. And in fact, we're getting food companies now and fast food companies who are calling us almost every day and asking us, how do we do this? What do you want us to do? Will you do a press conference with us? And so we're really happy with the reception. I think they're ready to change the industry. They have children too. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. Their children are going to the same schools, they're eating the same foods as the rest of us. And I think most of them really want to have a healthier America. They want clear guidelines, and they want to know what they can and can't do, and we're going to give them that.
Yes. Hi, Margaret Manto with Notice. I'm wondering if there's any pharmaceutical additives that you'd like to eliminate?
We're going to start on that next. I don't have anything particular.
Yes, in the white.
Hi. before he takes that question, some of you guys got to really laugh about that one, because right now that made butt puckers from everyone in the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that next. And I'm sure there's people at Pfizer and all the different companies, Merck, who went, what? You're coming for us? Yeah, you're next.
Hi, Emily Kopp, Daily Caller. When will HHS FOIA offices be restored? This is important for many of your stated priorities: adverse events, food.
We're working to restore all of them.
What?
Yeah, FOIA.
When is our FOIA?
A lot of the FOIA offices were eliminated by DOJ.
We're restoring all the FOIA offices, and we're going to make it much easier for people to get the information. We're going to try to post as much as we can. We're going to start a website with all former FOIA requests and the documents that were produced, so people don't have to do it again and again. And we're going to try to get as close as we can to total transparency in this agency. You know, I spent a lot of years litigating under FOIA, and I experienced the frustration of going year after year and being stonewalled by the agencies. A lot of the people who are in HHS right now come from that background. So we all understand how important it is to have, clear communications. The papers that we produce in this agency do not belong to us. They belong to the American people, and we need to be honest with them. And let me just answer the question before you about the drugs and the pharmaceutical products and the additives to the pharmaceutical products. Right now, Jay Bhattacharya is working, is assembling teams all over the country of scientists at universities and research centers to look at all of those products so that we can have, one of the problems is we don't have good science on everything. And we need to have science before we take policy action. And that science has been suppressed systematically for decades. Because of the conflicts in this agency, we're going to remove those conflicts. We're doing the science, already doing it. And we'll be announcing a series of grant opportunities this summer on all of these different ingredients. And we're going to have good information for the American public, and then we will take appropriate action.
Ashley.
Ashley DeMello with Fox News Digital. Will there be a way for Americans to identify products that are complying with this phase out? Such as labeling or?
We're looking at labeling. Labeling, we have to go to Congress for. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to post all the information we have about every additive on an open source website. So that, and we're going to encourage companies that develop apps. There are a number of other apps out there today, like Yucca is one, but there are a number of others, and I use Yucca, and my wife used it in our home. Those apps, then you can use, those companies will develop apps in the private marketplace so that mothers can go in, they can scan a barcode of every product in their grocery store, and they can know what's in it and what's not.
Thank you. Jan?
So, Secretary Kennedy, you have a lot of issues on the MAHA agenda, obviously, and I'm very curious if you could share some of the logic of choosing, for example, autism and food dyes and things as some of the kind of inaugural issues that you're coming forward with.
I would say, we're in a triage situation now, so we're choosing our priorities based upon the issues. Food dye is just a no-brainer. Nobody wants to eat petroleum. Everybody knows there's enough science out there that we know it's terrible for you. That causes health problems, but also behavioral problems. And so we can act on that now. Anything that we can act on, we're going to act on immediately. Some stuff we need science for. We just need to do more science. But a lot of times you hear people say, we're going to do more science on that, and then 10 years go by. That's not going to happen. President Trump wants dramatic change. President Trump wants dramatic change in the next 2 years, and we're going to deliver that for him. In terms of autism is a priority. We've gone from 1 in 10,000 now to 1 in 31, 1 in every 20 boys. This is 1,000 times more impactful to our country from an economic point of view, from a moral point of view, from just from the perspective of just our national well-being. That it has to be. It's costed by 2035. It's going to cost us, autism alone, just one of these chronic diseases will cost our country $1 trillion a year. We have to end that, and we have to end that because the children and the families are suffering so terribly. So that has been a priority for me for 20 years, and it will continue to be a priority, and we are going to find the answer very, very quickly, and we're going to eliminate the exposures that are causing it.
Secretary Kennedy, Issam Ahmed here from Agence France Presse. Just on the political dimensions, do you sort of give credit to the former President Joe Biden for getting the ball rolling with Red Dye 3? And as far as the labeling goes, you mentioned you have to go to Congress. Are you in discussions with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle regarding improved labeling around food? Thank you.
We have not yet. The time has not yet come for us to put our legislative proposals before Congress. Labeling will be a top priority proposal for us. In terms of the credit, I credit President Biden for getting it done. I wish it hadn't taken him to 1 week before I came into office before he did it. Let's give credit where credit's due.
No one ingredient that
All right, so now they're going to read off the ingredients and dyes that they're going to go after. So if you got a pencil or something and you want to be able to check all these different things and what dyes are going to go after, now he's going to read off that list. And it's extensive, all of these things that they're going to cut out of your food. Again, it's a 2-year phase out, so don't expect it tomorrow. Don't expect it next week. But the plan here is to phase it out for over 2 years. Now, the good thing about it is awareness. See, many people didn't, unless you turn and look at the back label, you don't know most of this stuff is in your food. You're shopping, oh, there's the cookies, there's the bread, there's this, there, and you don't turn around and go, oh, it's only red because, well, he's about to tell you right now. So listen up, here is the list.
For the child chronic disease epidemic. And let's be honest, taking petroleum-based food dyes out of the food supply is not a silver bullet that will instantly make America's children healthy. But it is one important step. This administration is not interested in continuing down the path of doing the same old things as we watch our nation's children get sicker. We need fresh, new approaches. Cancer and diabetes in young people is going up at an alarming rate, and nobody seems to know why. We have to turn our attention to underlying causes, such as chemicals and toxins that children are exposed to, not just more insulin and chemotherapy. And let's not forget that the best way to lower drug prices is to stop taking drugs we don't need. 30 states concerned about this very issue have introduced bills or laws with a patchwork of standards for food companies.
Real quick, I've noticed a couple of people are like, who is this guy? This guy is Marty Makary, or Makary, known as Dr. Marty, is the current commissioner of the USA Food and Drug Administration. He was confirmed by the Senate on March 25th of this year. Prior to his appointment, he was a surgeon and public policy researcher at Johns Hopkins University. So he's got the cred. He's an actual physician.
So the food industry, which has many good people, has asked for clarity. So today the FDA is taking the following steps. Number one, establishing a national standard and timeline for the food industry to transition from petroleum-based food dyes to natural alternatives. Number 2, initiating a process to revoke authorization of synthetic food colorings, including those not in production.
All right, so here it is. He's going to read off the list. Be ready. Get your pencil ready, or if you want to mark the timestamp so you got to come back and listen to it, he's going to read off the list.
Namely citrus red number 2 and orange B within the coming weeks. Number 3, taking steps to eliminate the remaining 6 synthetic dyes on the market from the U.S. food supply. Specifically, red dye number 40, yellow dye number 5, yellow dye number 6, blue dye number 1, blue dye number 2, and green dye number 3 by the end of next year.
So if you're like me, I'm like, what is this stuff? So after this, I had wrote it all down as I was editing, and I'm like, okay, I need to go into the pantry, and I got to see what is green dye number 4 and yellow dye. Who knows? Didn't even know it was in food. And but you can actually think to yourself and go, I don't know, is it mustard, the yellow stuff? Is the green relish? Are you actually putting food coloring in relish? Well, relish, you know, it's got a whole lot of sugar, so you got to find the sugar-free relish. Now you got to get rid of the sugar-free relish if it also has green dye number 9 or whatever it is. So it's going to take some work by you, especially if you're a parent, to begin looking at, oh, we didn't know this stuff. Think about how sick it sounds. When he said it, my stomach actually turned. Petroleum-based dyes. Oil. Oil-based dyes. Color. Where are they getting the petroleum from? What's the source? How's it refined? And then you're stirring it up and you're making some sort of dye and you're pouring it into the whole batch and making the Fruit Loops red and the Fruit Loops yellow and the mustard yellow and, oh, God knows what. And now that you know, because I had no idea, I'm wondering how many of you guys knew that all these different dyes existed. Didn't know. I had heard of the real bad one, red dye, but I didn't know the other ones. I'm looking in here. Did you guys know? It said no more tasting the rainbows. Eating white Skittles. No more tasting. There goes Fruit Loops, M&Ms. Oh, M&Ms. They're not be M&Ms. They're just M. There have to be one color at this point. I don't know. I'm just watching what you green relish, no sugar, add some stevia or monk fruit. Yep, you have to do that. Make sure there's nothing in it. Oh, there goes your favorite Jell-O salad. Jell-O's done for. Actually, absolutely done for. Oh, would you like some Vaseline with your cereal this morning? I saw that and I'm like, petroleum? It's oil? Are people really ingesting oil? You know, I thought they were just putting the little drops in or something. I didn't know it came from. I didn't know. Oh God, this is crazy. This is crazy. So because of diet, we have genetically modified offspring. Well, that's where the autism and everything else has happened. Absolutely crazy. So I encourage you to go check out and look in your own cabinet and begin to find out what exactly is in this stuff. All right, so the next section here. This one's a crazy one. So let me make sure. Let me just make sure that I'm up to the right next section.
Mrs. Gorsuch?
Yes. Okay. So this section here, I have to be very, very, very careful because of the people upstairs as I begin to explain this to you. So there is a Supreme Court hearing, and they're talking about little Johnny and little Susie being exposed to used to be little Johnny and used to be little Susie, if you catch my drift. I hope or little Johnny that wants to be with other little Johnnies, or little Susies that want to be with other little Susies. Because the ACLU and these nuts are suing to make it so that you as a parent don't have any say-so. Whether little Johnny wants to put on a dress and hang out with other little Johnnies, or little Johnny wants to have his little weenie clipped so he can become little Susie. Dancing here. I'm dancing. And so this insane case has made it to the Supreme Court. This case is that they are pushing, they are fighting for, that they adamantly want to see approved, that you as a parent have no say over what little Johnny or little Susie do with their lives at like 8 or 9. The sickness runs deep. So I'm going to be very careful in talking about this because it's something that can get me in big trouble here because we're not even allowed to have conversations about the sickness. Let that sink in. All right. All right. So let's talk about this. The case being heard before SCOTUS today is unbelievable. I can't believe anyone would argue that parents don't have the right to opt their child out of lessons using books like these for kids as young as 4 years old. Look at the content of these books from this case, which I can't even show you. I can't show you what the content of these books are because they'd be upset that you would see something that they're forcing on 4-year-old kids. Stuff like, Johnny, what happens if you bend over and spread the cheeks for Freddy? I mean, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff like that. How to, I don't even want to go there. I think your mind's going there right now with the last one I said. And they're like, wait a minute, this has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. Yeah, all the way to the Supreme Court. They keep pushing it. You should not have the option to opt out. I don't want my child having anything to do with this stuff. Oh, nope, you got to. So you're telling the president he can't fire people, but you're telling parents they have no option but to let little Johnny and little Susie hear stuff about, butt plugs. Or having butt plugged. But that's okay, right? Yeah, you want that to happen. Are these people sick or what? Jonathan Turley, he said this early. So I'm going to give you a couple things that Jonathan Turley said. The parents have the stronger argument in his perspective. These books are being required for children 3 to 10. 3 to 10. A ruling in their favor could prove one of the most important victories for parental rights in decades. I'm ashamed that we have to fight for parental rights in a public school system. Jonathan went on to say this, and as he's telling you what's going on, Clarence Thomas led the questioning into Mahmoud versus Taylor, that's the citation of the case, to confirm that the school was actually requiring the use of the book at least 5 times a year while refusing families to opt out. You have no say what your children are going to be taught. What country is this? Please tell me. He goes on to say, Eric Baxter, representing the parents, is getting close to questioning from Sotomayor whether the mere exposure to these books is a real burden. You have to ask, those of you guys who are my age, around my age, remember when you found your daddy's stash, and and mommy would come in and just whoop your little behind for looking at the stash? And these people don't even want parents to have that ability. Let them see it all. Corrupt their minds. It's no big deal. Justice Sotomayor portrayed the books as merely depicting same-sex marriages and other imagery. I keep having to stop. Justice Sotomayor, that's fine. What if I don't want my young boy seeing that other imagery? Why am I teaching him about this? If I want my son, or actually it's a girl, but if I wanted her to learn how to play softball, you take her to the softball field. It was our prerogative. Hey, would you like to learn how to play softball? Let's go and play some softball. Here's the ball. Take a swing. Our choice. The family's choice. Your Supreme Court justice go, hey, what's the big deal? It's just, just showing them some stuff in case they're interested. Well, let me ask you a question, Ms. Sotomayor. If it is as we've been told that you're born that way, why would you have to introduce a book to, you see what I'm saying? He would already have, or she would already have that interest if you were born that way. Being delicate here. Her colleagues just pushed back, including Alito, who said the book has a clear message and cannot be portrayed as, quote, mere exposure. There is a growing heat to the exchanges between the justices. Sotomayor just tried to disagree with Alito's portrayal, and Alito pushed back and asked to allow him to finish. Justice Kagan is pressing Baxter, that is liberal, that this will allow parents to decide curriculum issues when just looking at a book is enough to force an opt-out. Yes, I should be able to decide whether or not my child learns and wants to have a Spanish class. I may want them to have a French class. I may want them to have a Portuguese class. We're not interested in Spanish because he's got a track where he's going to be, I don't know, a surgeon in Belgium. But you're telling me I have no choice. I have to let him see, Danny Diddler. It doesn't really matter. Danny Diddler is important for your son to see. But I don't want him seeing Danny Diddler. Oh, you're square and you don't have any say. Yeah, okay. Justice Sotomayor is hammering Baxter, inciting to parent objections to material on various grounds as type of slippery slope objection. Chief Justice Roberts chimes in, adding an interesting rebuttal to Sotomayor's portrayal of the objections of parents as merely having a problem with seeing couples' images. You see what's going on here? Roberts noted that Muslims might have a real religious objection to seeing a picture of Muhammad getting diddled or something. What about Jesus Christ? Oh, just saying. Justice Alito is noting that this case involves extremely young children, as young as 5, and he knows that as children become older, they are more able to make distinctions about what is a teacher is presenting and what may not be their own views. Alito also notes that other distinction is that the Maryland legislature has already said that those two things allow opt-out in other contexts. Justice Sotomayor is disagreeing about the meaning of one of the books. Sotomayor's questioning is especially active and argumentative with the Parents' Council. We're in big trouble. Yes, Trump, do martial law, do whatever you need to do. If we're arguing, if the highest court in our land is actually arguing whether or not little Johnny and Susie should be forced to or be taught this stuff without parental guidance, if that's what we're really arguing in 2025, some of y'all probably pissed right about now. Okay. Justin Kagan just admitted that she was struck by the age of the students and that even non-religious parents might object. However, she is pressing Baxter, the defendant, on where they could draw a line for a workable rule. Here's your line. Your line ended. There is no line. I am the parent. I will decide what I want Johnny and Susie to look at. Why are you trying to create a line that the courts can say, oh, you don't need a parent for this stuff? Oh, if it's merely like, pleasuring yourself, you don't need a parental, oversight. If it's merely, looking at stuff on X or paying money to go to, one of these OnlyFans, then that's okay. But maybe we'll restrict it for, Danny Diddler's page. Baxter responded that the objections must be religious and sincere to demand such an opt-out. Kagan insists she is really searching for something to base a rule on. Kagan insists she is really searching for something to base a rule on. You know what the problem there is? Two of the most vocal liberal judges don't have any kids. Oh, maybe this is one where you want to sit out. I ain't never had any kids. What's the big deal? Let them read the books. Maybe you should have a kid. Maybe you shouldn't even be allowed to make a decision on this case unless you have children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews. Something. You're like, hey, what's the big deal? Kids are going to read about the diddler. It's okay. What you guys got a problem with? Kagan says that the parents seem to want a rule of opt-out for everyone. Yes! Justin Kavanaugh made an important pushback on Sotomayor that the operative work is not coercion, but burden. He also noted that the parents are not trying to bar the use of the books, but only their right to have their children opt out. I don't care if those people want to have their kids. Okay, the crazy neighbors, I've seen what they do in the backyard. Go ahead. Those are your kids, not mine. Think about that. If you lived next door to somebody and they were, I don't know, and I don't mean this in any bad way, but let's say they were nudist. And they're nudist and your pool is next to their pool. And you tell little Johnny, hey, go inside right now. The freaks next door are out in the swimming pool. You have that right. But what they're saying is, if the freaks next door have a book about how you should enjoy a nudist colony, you can't stop little Johnny from seeing that. I'm not making this up. This is a Supreme Court case. This is what they're actually taking time to rule on today. Baxter recounted how Muslims, including a young girl who objected, were attacked by the board as being intolerant. Notably, Justice Barrett, she shows up, stepped in to say that Sotomayor correctly cited coercion as a key term from the Fourth Circuit. Baxter said the burden is the proper standard. Barrett agrees that the burden is important, but said that there is a good question on line drawing. She noted that the court could just rule that the Fourth Circuit was wrong and what constitutes a burden. You guys feeling crazy right now? This goes on and on and on. There's a whole lot here. I'm not going to go through all that because it's just crazy. We have Supreme Court justices sitting up on the dais and they're having questions back and forth whether your children should be able, or you should be able to opt your children out of this stuff. We're actually having this discussion with the highest court in the land. Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's that bad. And somebody pointed that out. Interesting that both Justice Sotomayor and Kagan don't have children of their own, and they're arguing why parents shouldn't be able to opt out of this type of objectionable material being taught to their very young children. So you're going to a... no analogy needed. You guys figured that one out. All right. The Supreme Court appears ready to reverse it. Some of us are hoping that it will not just declare that this is a violation of religious freedoms, but to affirm parental rights. Yes, that's what we're hoping. One more for you. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was particularly active and argumentative in challenging the counsel for the parents. However, the most concerning statement, you're going to love this, was when she declared that the parents can choose to put their kids elsewhere. You don't like it? Leave. Well, the other school's across town, and I pay taxes to go to the school. So you're telling my option is to leave the school or let little Johnny read about this stuff. The record shows, as Jonathan Toy says, at least one family selling its house to send its kids to private schools. The statement seemed a bit cavalier given the cost to those parents, a cost that many people can't possibly afford. Yeah, that's where we are. I got it, Jack. If people won't do anything about it, it will get worse. No more family. My mom tried to make me tap dance as a 6-year-old. I said no, in a 6-year-old way. I'm looking at some of your comments. Oh, hell no. Oh my gosh, pray for the children is right. And I'm thinking here, you guys are like, tell me this isn't real. Tell me, pinch me, slap me, do something. Are we really adjudicating at the highest court in the land? There's actually somebody trying to force this to happen. Just imagine that. This wouldn't be a case in front of the Supreme Court if there weren't some idiots that's trying to force parents not to be able to have any say in what their kids consume. All children should be opted out until they're 18. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, with that said, I wanted to send a preface it. Listen to how a couple of the judges, including Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, start asking some questions here.
I just want to make sure I understand a few fact things and then a law question. What age do you, in Montgomery County, teach students normally about human sexuality?
I think that it begins in either 4th or 5th grade.
The human sexuality class?
The family life and human sexuality curriculum.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
Starts in 4th or 5th grade, you think?
So.
Is there anything you can point us to in the record on that?
I don't think so.
Okay. And second, these books are being used in English class.
The division between English class and other things in a 2nd grade classroom doesn't really exist. You're sort of in a room with a teacher and sometimes...
No, I appreciate that. I went to 2nd grade too. Yeah. But it's part of the English curriculum that these books are being used in. I thought that was...
Yeah, I'm not fighting the premise. I'm just saying that
it's not the math class.
It is not.
It's not the human sexuality class.
It is certainly not the human sexuality class.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of fighting the premise that there's a neat distinction.
Okay. And they're being used in English language instruction at age 3. Some of them.
So Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
Yes, you're watching a Supreme Court hearing. They're talking about Pride Puppy. Where's the comment? Where? Blow the horn, please. What the hell are we doing here? Oh, by the way, the reason why you're seeing pictures instead of video, they don't allow video inside the Supreme Court. So when you take the audio, you have to put this stuff up. But we're getting close, people. We must be getting close.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
It's a sex worker, right?
No, that's not correct. No.
I read it.
It's a drag queen and
drag queen and drag
correct.
queen.
The leather that they're pointing to is
a highly educated Supreme Court justice is having to have explained, basically, what the hell am I looking at here? It's not what you think that is. This is just leather and... What? If I'm a 50-something-year-old Supreme Court justice, how in the hell is little Johnny supposed to decipher what's going on here? Just think about that. If you're having to explain to a Supreme Court justice what he's looking at, because he can't figure it out. Just like, is this bondage? What's going on? Is it a gimp? I saw Pulp Fiction. What the hell is this? Oh, no. It's just, it's just some, S&M and maybe a little bit of, cosplay or drag. Did anyone else pick that up by that? You're having to explain to a Supreme Court justice what the hell he's seeing. Yet you expect little Johnny to be able to understand it.
In a leather jacket. and one of the words is drag queen in the search.
And they're supposed to look for those?
It is an option at the end of the book, correct?
Yeah, okay. And you've included these in the English language curriculum rather than the human sexuality curriculum to influence students. Is that fair? That's what the district court found.
I think to the extent the district court found that it was to influence them towards civility. The natural consequence of being exposed
Whatever, but to influence them.
Whatever.
In the manner that I just mentioned, yes.
Okay. And responding to parents who are concerned, do you agree that there was some intemperate language used?
I don't know that those were responding to parents who were concerned. This was after the fact for most of these comments. And this was in a very public setting, which obviously got heated, and some intemperate comments were used, certainly.
Yeah. And I wanted to understand your context that you were giving about the statement that some Muslim families, it's unfortunate that this issue puts some Muslim families on the same side of an issue as white supremacists and outright bigots. I think in response to Justice Sotomayor, you were trying to give some context to that?
I don't think I was speaking directly about that comment. I think that comment was given or was made in June, which was several months after the decision to withdraw the opt-outs was made. I don't have context for that statement, no.
Okay. And then the legal question. Why isn't discrimination against religion a burden on religion? If a state, now this is hypothetical, not moving away from the record, if state actors intentionally discriminate against religion, what secular purpose, valid secular purpose could that serve? And how wouldn't that be a burden?
So I don't know. I mean, it depends on the hypothetical, what the state is doing and whether there's a secular purpose. That's hard to imagine one. But if the state is discriminating
against Muslims or Catholics or Protestants or whatever.
I think this court has recognized that when an enactment that discriminates on its face, or has recognized with respect to an enactment that discriminates on its face, it is intrinsically coercive. That's how the court has performed the burden inquiry.
You're worried about kids 3 and 4 years old being discriminated against. And let that sink in. Because every single one of us who has had a child, and yes, Ashley too, we're always been discriminate with these kids. I want to watch the Flintstones. No, watch SpongeBob. I don't want you watching Flintstones. I don't want to eat that. No, hey, eat this. We're going to tell you what you're going to eat. This is dinner. I want nuggets. No, have some broccoli. We've all discriminated as we were around kids. They didn't get to determine, hey, somebody bring me in some barbecue up in here. What? Never saw a kid do that. Never saw a kid say, hey, Mom, you know what? Shove this and bring me some, Oreo cookies and milk. I'm not eating this. Not tonight. No, you're going to eat your broccoli or your salad and that piece of meat. Nah, I'm not. You want to bet? And this guy's trying to say, oh, the discrimination of the kids. Huh? The entire objective of parenting is to discriminate when you're raising a kid. There are certain things you don't want them to do. I want to go out tonight with all my friends. No, you can't go. I don't like him. I don't like how he looks at me. You're not getting in the car with him. This is like Cuckoo Land. I mean, complete. Somebody put in here, this is like some Rod Serling stuff here, man.
If you are privileging one religion over another, you are coercing people to subscribe to that particular set of beliefs in order to get...
So that's a burden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
In the country has opt-outs for all sorts of things. The county has opt-outs for all sorts of things. The other Maryland counties have opt-outs for all sorts of things. And yet for this one thing, they changed in mid-year and say no more opt-outs. I'm just not understanding feasibility.
So again, I think what's in the record is that with respect to these books as they were deployed in the classroom, there was high absenteeism in some schools. For example, dozens of students being opted out in, I think Mr. Baxter said the average size of an elementary school in Montgomery County is 700 students. So each grade is 125. If you have dozens of students walking out, making arrangements for those students to have adequate space and supervision and alternative instruction I think is infeasible.
But then they do it for all sorts of other opt-outs.
They don't do it for all sorts of other opt-outs. There's a limited universe of things that students can opt out from. The Family Life and Healthy Sexuality curriculum stands alone. It is mandated by the state. It is something where you are able to predict precisely when the curriculum is going to be deployed. There's
It's the most similar substantively to what we have here, and there's an opt-out allowed there. I guess I'm not understanding why Montgomery County School Board stands alone, I think, in the country. You can tell me if there's another school board that's done something like this.
I apologize.
Both the kind of books that are being used and prohibiting opt-outs. And I guess I'm just not understanding the whole goal.
Don't worry, Justice Kavanaugh. We understand you're highly educated, you're a Supreme Court justice, and you don't understand. I just wanted to cut those two judges so you can say, hey man, I don't get it. None of us do. None of us understand what in the heck is going on here. You are actually having to sit there and listen to some light-in-the-shoe attorney tell you that it's okay that little Johnny can have pride puppy. and the parents can't say no. Wow. Wow.
Think of some of our religion precedents is to look for the win-win, to look for the situation where you can respect the religious beliefs and accommodate the religious beliefs while the state or city or whatever it may be can pursue its goals. And here, they're not asking you to change what's taught in the classroom. They're not asking you to change that at all. A lot of the rhetoric suggests that they might have, that they were trying to do that, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're only seeking to be able to walk out so that they don't have to, the parents don't have their children exposed to these things that are contrary to their own beliefs.
You remember back in the day when there was the fight for equality, and that fight for equality was we just want to be who we are. And many people are like, okay, once you open that door, you're not really going to be sure what steps into it or comes through that portal. We just want to have the ability just to be who we are. And now here we are in 2025 where they're trying to force you to let them show your kids whatever they want. And you don't even have the option of opting out. And now the severity of this case is because now it's gone to the Supreme Court. And if these people punt on this and they say, yes, you can force the kids in Maryland to do this, it's going to happen across the country. The precedent will be set that you cannot opt out. If they have curriculum that says Johnny wants to be Jill and Jill wants to be Johnny and Pride Puppy, if that's what the curriculum is going to be, they will then make it countrywide, or at least wherever they can, before some of these people get dragged off in the middle of the night. Like some places in the South. Because I'm pretty sure if you start up with the Pride Puppy, and certain places down here, or in Louisiana, they ain't gonna find you. Nobody I know is going to accept that their children, number one, have to be exposed, mandated they have to be exposed of this, and two, you can't say anything about it. That's it. Once they're here, they're ours. Once you drop them off or they get off the school bus, yeah, that's a whole nother crop for us, and you can't say anything. This is evil personified. This kind of stuff, I don't know where you are with your walk with God, but this kind of stuff is when I'm starting to look for it. I'm like, okay, it's coming, isn't it? It's really going to come real soon, isn't it? I never thought I'd be one of those people who are like, hey, the end is near. Because this kind of stuff, there's no return from. Because what happens if next it's, hey, let's talk to you about, Satan's adventures. Because now, it's part of our curriculum. You have to let us teach it. Let me show you how Satan's a good guy. You don't need that guy on the cross stuff. No, this is where it's at. Satan's Jolly Adventures. Learn how you can get a suntan and be just perfectly fine. This isn't how it's supposed to be. None of you had children and wanted this to be where things are. Yeah. Just wanted to show you that. Told you a whole lot of news came out tonight. We're 2 hours and 19 minutes in right now. I got one more piece from you. And I told you the next piece was Tom Homan. So let's listen to Tom.
How do you square the two? I mean, you have images like
that's right, 8 questions. But bottom line is the college students, their visas are being suspended because the State Department believes in national security threats.
Sir, not all.
And it's not about what they say, it's about what they say and what they do. First Amendment rights, I can't stay in a movie theater at night and clean fire. There's a limit. When you come to this country on a visa or become a resident alien, that's a privilege that comes with certain responsibilities. Now, I'm not with the State Department. I didn't make the decision to cancel those visas, but our job is, when we cancel those visas, they're removed from the country. Right. As far as the others you talk about, we are forced in the community because of sanctuary cities. There's New York City, I'll say it again, New York City, you're a sanctuary city, you're a sanctuary for criminals, because we can't arrest a bad guy in Rikers Island, for God's sakes. We got to go in the neighborhood and find him. I said from day one, ICE is going to enforce the law, unlike the lax administration who says ICE can't arrest an illegal alien for simply being here illegally. They're rewriting federal law. No, ICE agents took an oath to enforce immigration laws, and we go find the bad guy, and they will. If he's with others, they're coming too. Prioritization doesn't mean maybe I prioritize my family life over my work life. I don't forget my work life. We're prioritizing public safety threats and national security, and that's what we're doing. The data proves it.
But the students who are just getting traffic summonses, you think they're national security threats?
I'm not.
These people are arguing. They don't. I'm telling you, this is what they want. They don't understand that simply being here is against the law. It's a privilege that can be revoked. I don't understand how it's. I salute Tom because he's got to deal with this crap. Like, can I shake you? Can you try to understand that they don't have any right to be here? No right to. They have a privilege. We are allowing them to be here. So if we take their student visas, then they got to get the heck out. But he hasn't done anything.
I'm not involved in those investigations. I can tell you, we're going to force immigration.
What I'm getting is, don't you think that those
prioritization doesn't mean forget about everybody else in that country illegally. It's not okay to be in this country illegally.
Okay,
it's not okay to enter this country.
They're not here illegally, right? They're here on student visas. But
well, we can talk case by case, but every case is different. I can't put them all in one bucket. I don't know the details of every investigation. ICE and Border to arrest thousands of people a day. I'm not familiar with every investigation.
But do you think that it all hurts this agency that is doing this kind of work to have them with images, wearing masks, stopping college students, taking them wherever? Do you think that
I think the American people elected Donald Trump to enforce immigration laws is exactly what we're doing. We're doing what the American people voted for. It's not okay to be in this country illegally.
Mr. Holman, I want to ask you about illegal, those who cross the border illegally. Would you want to deport somebody who crossed the border illegally, regardless of whether they committed a crime? And you mentioned ICE on right.
Oh, this dude has the patience of Job. Would you want to arrest someone who crossed the border illegally but hasn't committed a crime? I would have just looked at her and said, honey, can you just repeat what you just said? Just repeat the words you just said. Would you want to arrest somebody who crossed the border illegally but has not done any crime? And this is a reporter.
If ICE doesn't reopen their office on Rikers, what would you do? I mean, what would you want the city to do? What would you want the mayor to do?
It means we'll put more agents on the streets in New York. We're going to get the bad guy regardless. We'd like to give him, look, we didn't decide to lock him at Rikers Island. The local authorities said, why? Obviously, you're a public safety threat. And I think any member of the city council who's going to sue to end that agreement, based on what you see, this is just one example of what collaboration means. Why would you not want ICE to take possession of a terrorist member, a gang member, a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail. It's safer for the officer. It's safer for the alien. It's certainly safer for New York, where we arrest a bad guy in the jail.
And deport somebody that doesn't need to be deported at that point?
Pardon me?
Couldn't they make a mistake like we've seen already?
There's been no mistake.
These people went to college and got stupid. I don't know if Trump can fix this. These people are way stupid. I don't know how they don't get it. Nobody who came across the border illegally should be ever deported. They all should stay here forever.
Well, the federal government has made a mistake with at least one person.
Look, the details of that investigation argue that. The details, they missed the documentation, show this guy the withholding removal. That was years ago. So what's withholding removal based on? Number one, doesn't qualify for terrorists. So off the table right there. Number two, the gang he was fearing of, it no longer exists. So the situation surrounding that case has changed. So I stand by the fact that this guy, this El Salvadoran national criminal alien gang member terrorist, is home.
And then following up on, if somebody crosses the border illegally and is here, would you still want to deport them even though they haven't committed a crime?
Absolutely, they committed a crime, man.
I'm sorry. She just asked that same exact question. Even Tom was like, you just asked that. You literally just said if somebody crosses the border illegally, should they get arrested if they haven't done anything? I knew this was going to be good.
Illegal is a crime.
What do you expect? Well, it's not really. They have asylum. They
not really.
Paroled into the
See, this is what you never cover. Look at the immigration. Look at the immigration court data. Clearly shows 9 out of 10 people who make asylum claim end up with the order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. And people say, well, it's just innocent illegal immigration. But when you flood the border like the last administration does, where 70% on average of agents are off the line, what happened? 600% increase in sex trafficking in women and children. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl. A record number of people on terrorist watch lists crossing the border. Bad things happen when you lose control of the border. So what you call innocent illegal immigration, not criminals, it causes all these other bad things to happen because the criminal cartels have operational control of the border, not the men and women of the Border Patrol. President Trump, like him or hate him, he did in 6 weeks what the Biden administration couldn't or wouldn't do in 4 years. Right now, today, as I'm talking to you, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. We did that in 6 weeks. So President Trump has proven. The last administration lied about a secure border. We showed them what a secure border looks like now. 95% decline, most secure border in a lifetime. ICE has arrested 3 times more criminals than the Biden administration has done. So men and women, ICE are sticking to priorities, public safety threats, national security threats, but if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table.
Efforts of the local HSI office, are NYPD officers involved that are assigned to the task force? Are they also working on the catch and revoke efforts that are being targeted here with the local HSI field office?
I don't understand. Say that again.
The catch and revoke efforts that are targeting students that HSI is involved with. That were just the question that was just
mean the
asked.
students?
Yeah, the students.
The students. Are NYPD officers assigned to the HSI task force also involved in those efforts?
No.
These people are about 10 exits past normal. Look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
These suspects, are they going to be tried or deported?
That's up to the local district attorney. And now some are going to be prosecuted federally. It depends. That's what collaboration looks like.
But can you explain the difference in approach here? You're bringing a RICO case against gang members. In other areas, the administration has preferred to bypass the courts and just put them on airplanes.
No, they don't bypass the courts. The local field office always works with a local prosecutor, a federal prosecutor. If they want to continue the prosecution, they do a writ and take them back into custody. Many times the prosecutors, you know what? Deport them. We'd rather have them deported.
In all these cases?
Not all these cases. I'm saying it's case by case with thousands of cases a week, right? Where the local field office works with the local prosecutors and the federal prosecutor, if it's a federal criminal investigation, federal prosecution, to coordinate. Do you want to keep them for prosecution? We can make that happen. Do a writ, take them back into custody. But ICE collaborates with the prosecutors and what the next steps are going to be. But the end game is going to be, if they're in the United States illegally, they're going to be deported.
But I think in some of the cases in the habeas petitions, you haven't argued that you've brought these people into collaboration with prosecutors who've made a deliberate decision to bypass prosecution. You've just said you're a gang member and you're on a plane. Is that... what am I...
Well, you're talking about people removed on the Alien Enemies Act. It's a totally different ballgame. The Alien Enemies Act, and a lot of people are talking about it, President Trump invoked the authorities he has on the Alien Enemies Act, a law that was passed by Congress, written by Congress, passed by Congress as a statute. The difference between the Trump administration and the last administration, we're using laws on the books. We're not making this up. We're enforcing laws on the books, using every tool we got to remove terrorists from this country.
Do you think Mayor Adams has done enough to collaborate with ICE, or would you like to see more?
I would like to see more, but I know he's in a tough position when you got a city council that's fighting him all the way. Plus, you got a governor who doesn't support what we're doing here today. I mean, as soon as they found out that a mayor is going to work with us to get in Rikers Island, you got the governor come down and try to get him removed from office, and the city council is following. Look, anybody from the city council here today? Speak up. Find that strange? No member of city council is here today to look at what collaboration means, but they're going to sue the administration, stop us from going to Rikers Island. Regardless of what the judge decides, or regardless of what the city council thinks, there is no sanctuary in the United States for Trenda Agua MS-13. Either you let us into jail in the safety and security of a jail to take them into custody that makes New York City safer, rather than what we saw here, or we get them on the street.
And what more would you like? What more from the city government would you like?
This is our last question.
There are hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked in this country in the last administration. Many are missing. And I'm hoping the NYPD will help us find some of these children. Some are in sex trafficking. We already found some. Some are in forced labor. We already found some. Not all of them. Some will be family members. But I would like the NYPD, who has one of the best intelligence divisions in the world, to help us find some of these victims of trafficking. I think that'd be a game winner for everybody involved.
You talked about collateral arrests. Can you say how many collateral...
We're thinking about doing a late night show a couple nights a week where we just have the lunatics on.
Oh, my gosh. I told you there was a whole lot of news, a whole lot of stuff, and most of it was just like, oh, no. Oh, what is going on in this country? It's absolutely insane. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. I want to go see my wife, hug my wife, and hug the little... Where is he? Where'd you go? Midas was here. Don't know where he went. He left. He said, "I'm out. This stuff is crazy. I can't take it." Oh my God. A lot of this stuff, I thought to myself, if I didn't show people, you would think I was lying. If you didn't see what you saw, you would probably say, Barry, there's no way. There's no way this stuff actually happened. Now you know what President Trump is going up against every single day. Every single day, he's got to go up and deal with these nuts, these absolute stone cold. I mean, how many of them at this point are traitors, and how many of them are actually just nuts? Man, it's stunning. It's stunning and it's scary. I mean, very, very scary. All right, so let me go ahead and read the super chats and get out of here and go eat some late night dinner. No sugar. Fiatuono, thank you very much. Preleon from New Zealand. Barry, you should get Sam Antar, the forensic accountant that's been investigating Letitia James, for an interview. Yeah, that'd be nice. What did he and something happened with him and Laura Loomer? I mean, she keeps getting fights with everybody. Justin Bundy, thanks for the chat. Little for the cause, Navy. Thank you. Tilly, hey, thank you. Shanta Hanasana, military is the only way. I believe that. Penny Quarter, why is Steve Bannon saying that Doge hasn't found one dime or fraud or waste? Isn't that bull? I haven't heard him say that. That would be an odd thing to say. Very odd. Random Car, thank you. Antonio, Barry, you are very appreciated. Thanks for all you do. Watch you every day. Thank you very much. Yeah, I didn't know we were going to go 3 hours tonight. I thought it'd be like an hour and a half, but boom. Ashley told me, she goes, it's going to be another 3 hours. I'm like, yeah. Steve James, in order to arrest the big names, they need a solid case so these weasels can't get out of it on a technicality. At this point, you have to believe if they arrest somebody in Washington, they're walking the next day. These judges, you're seeing what they're doing on these cases. Can you imagine if all of a sudden they brought in Hillary Clinton in handcuffs, what would happen? Oh, let her go. No big deal. No. So I think it's futile. Rhinoceros, imagine living your life on the pretense of a lie for 111 years. Yes, the Federal Reserve, all the craziness we're witnessing is a realization of this, and Trump knows it. Max Body, just an old Reg Fox joke. He told his wife they had 3 kids. Pick out the one you want. I'm going to drown the other 2. Ray Pratt, Civil War. Wouldn't be much of a war. CR, let's get more Bibles out for people. Do you realize, the reason why I haven't put it up since then, we have nearly 900 Bibles to get shipped. 900! We have like a whole shipment. We're going to have to bring in a forklift, and bring that many Bibles in. Mark of reality, the Supreme Court does not have the right to command the president. It's called the separation of powers. Yes, it's in the Constitution. That's what a lot of us have been saying. Biden ignored SCOTUS on loan forgiveness. He sure did. AUMF, authorization for military force active since 2001 after 9/11. Larry, 1754, it's not the purpose of a judge to settle disputes between 2 or more parties. How can any judge on her own issue an order to anyone strictly on his own, telling someone what they have to do? None of it makes sense. KRO, thank you for Bibles, please. Barry, God bless you for the voice of clarity. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the Bibles. Nilsa Presta, President Trump has my support. He must do whatever it will take to do. We voted for him. We got his back. Yep. Boom Drummer, Mega Dittos, Barry, I know what that's from. That's an old Rush Limbaugh sign. You are awesome at reading Taiwanese. They think we'll ever hear of the Secret Service repercussions over Secretary Noem's purse snatching. I'm surprised we haven't heard about that already. You're telling me there's a purse snatcher that ran through a restaurant and grabbed their purse, and y'all don't know who it is? Tilly, my husband says Trump can't do anything without the permission of Congress and Senate. Tell him to watch. Pay close attention. God bless America. Don't dumb eat with the rest of it. I don't even know what you wrote there. Tilly, so there we are, effed. Fume Drummer, RFK Jr.'s remarks, check out the original Woodstock footage of thousands in the crowd. Count the number of overweight people. 0. There's people who post like videos like, hey, can you tell the difference of what happened? Daryl Cota, we must back Trump or lose this country forever. Yeah, indeed, that's how I feel. Redeemed Patriots, start with the chemicals that foreign countries banned. Thank you, great show, Barry. Redeemed Patriot again, fix the laws where they can't just change the name. Rhinoceros, I would highly suggest that every American and Fanfare fam members read Rockefeller's Medicine Men by Rich Brown. I'll have to look that up. Dave Rutan, and parents are being kicked out and arrested for reading these books in school board meetings. Yeah, they don't want you reading the books in the school board meeting, but they want little Johnny to hear it. Mary Boston, Barry, it is disgusting that these schools have been subjecting our kids to this. I think Ketanji Brown Jackson thought it was just fine. She was the one who couldn't define what a woman was. Moshe G, when I was in school, my parents didn't let me read books with expletives. Yeah, I remember Catcher in the Rye, and what was some of the stuff we read? Catcher in the Rye, that was the first one where I really saw like bad words like, ooh. Fume Drummer, 4 and 5-year-olds sometimes call the teacher mommy by mistakes. This means the evil messages are being imprinted on the young brain as if it came from home. Tilly, I pray for everyone around the world. Yes, thank you. Born on the 4th, a class action suit by parents should solve the inappropriate books in schools problem quickly. Lady Trucker, Barry, martial law now. Something's got to happen, if not the comet. Rhinoceros, we've already won. It's just the enemy hasn't actually accepted it yet. Eyes and hearts up, Patriots. Thank you. Benedetto Salerno, time for Trump to use his last resort. Let's go, Hegseth. Captain Danny, how you doing? Millstones matter. Put the millstone around the neck. Chuck Chambers, no more red and blue pills after 2026. God bless America, the vast majority of laws passed by Democrat dum-dums. Hey, Neo, what madness, pray will we win this battle of evil? We have to. We have to, otherwise we are in real big trouble. MB says, make it make sense. I can't, M. I can't make it make sense. None of this stuff makes any sense whatsoever. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Stay strong, people. Stay strong. Tomorrow's another day. We'll undoubtedly, I got some stuff for you. I didn't do the big baby bonus tonight, and I got some stuff about the Department of Education and how these people are screaming because they got to pay their own loans, all kinds of things. So tomorrow we shall convene around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and we'll see how things go tomorrow. There'll be more of this stuff. Thanks for tuning in. After party next.